Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Corynthia Soul Ascender Podcast. I'm joined here with Julianne, and we are going to be diving deep into forgiveness. And what does that mean on many different levels? Well, hi, Julie.
Hi, Corynthia. How are you?
Good. All right. So forgiveness, this is a hot topic.
What do you think is more important, forgiveness of self or others?
I would say self, number one, but it's just as important on some level for others as well. I don't think it's either or. I think it's a blend of both. But forgiveness of self, I felt like it was such more um, importancy because it's when we can literally hone in on us and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I forgive myself for only doing the best I knew at the moment, or wow, I knew better, but I did it anyways. There's such an powerful impact on that.
You know, when you make a list of people that you forgive, like if you're on a forgiveness journey, the first person on that list should usually be yourself.
I agree. Definitely.
What do you think the steps to starting a journey of self-forgiveness look like? What do those steps look like?
That one is just recognizing what it is first. I mean, if we can just say, I forgive myself. Well, it's like if you can hone in kind of on some of the topics that are weighing you down, that's still playing in your consciousness, it's important to be like, oh, man, you know what? I forgive myself for that. I did the best I knew. And just being okay with that.
Well, okay, so past the words of saying that you forgive yourself. What what's the Is there actions that you need to take to for self-forgiveness? What kind of actions do we
I think
do?
it's important that you're in a space where you're in your own bubble, your own energy, placing your hands on your heart and saying it out loud, because it's a frequency that's going to actually shift the energy when you're saying something out loud versus just saying it in our minds.
What if you don't forgive yourself or you can't forgive yourself?
And that's a deep one. I mean, because there's so much out there of we've done harm to others, not intentionally. And that, I don't even, that's kind of a firecracker in a way, because if we hate ourselves so much for something we've done to harm someone else, it's going to come to a different level first before you could probably forgive yourself. It's going to
Mhm.
probably having to learn to love yourself again before
Mhm.
you can truly learn to forgive yourself again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I had an experience where um, the idea came to me when I was chanting that self-love changes everything. And it felt really big for me for that moment. And then a couple of days later, I had a very difficult situation happen at work where I felt like two people were kind of ganging up on me. I felt like a bait dog in a fight, and I was like, I'm not going to enter into this fight. So I just kept nodding and going, oh, interesting, and just not taking the bait. Um, and then I would walk off, and then I would go back and do what I needed to do, and I could see just that, like, they were foaming at the mouth. It felt like that they were just trying to just bully beat me down, right? So, and by the end of our time together and the two people had left, I was just like, wow, that, ugh, Jesus, went home. And then again, when I was chanting, it came to me that I was like, well, I kept mulling over it all the way home and everything, and I was thinking, I probably deserved it. Like, I shouldn't have said this, that, or the other thing. I probably brought up that topic. Next time I won't, blah, blah, blah. But when I was sitting there chanting, I stopped and I said, no, 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 no. And I kind of did this thing where I'm kind of patting myself, and I'm like, that was uncomfortable. That was really uncomfortable. You did fine. And that was weird. And we're not going to take the bait on the inside and take the bait for the fight you're trying to pull yourself into right now, because you did fine and that was weird and very uncomfortable and not very nice of them. So that felt to me like the biggest part of self-love changes everything because now I feel like when somebody's just trying to get there into me, and then I'm going to start trying to reel it in my head on what I did wrong and how it's my fault. Now I can know what it feels like to say, no, no, that's just uncomfortable. It's okay. I mean, that's not going to go down as one of our favorite memories. So, as far as self-love, I felt like that was a pretty big step.
Absolutely. Nice job. It's easy to get sucked into, the bait, like you said, of drama. And it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Even inside, in
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. So the fact that you could step out, step back, and then realign yourself, that's beautiful.
So after you get that point where you stop beating yourself up, then you can look back at when you have allowed yourself to get beaten up and start forgiving yourself. Maybe not for not defending yourself. Like sometimes it's just like somebody isn't going to listen anyway. It could be your parent, it could be your kids, it could be your best friend or whatever, and they're berating you, and there's nothing you can do about that. But then you don't have to continue their barrage.
Absolutely. And that's one of the worst things that as humans, for some reason, it's kind of our default system of like we take what others do or say, and then we keep replaying it within ourselves and condemning ourselves with it.
It's because it's less painful. So if I already tell myself that when somebody else comes up and does it, I've already ripped my own Band-Aid. It's you don't there's no Band-Aid there for you to rip, type of thing. Um, I got to me before you could. Haha.
Well, and the neat thing, what you experience is that you were able to shift it quickly overall and do it differently than what you've done in the past. And to just give yourself that hug of like, you did a good job. You're still stepping into who you are and still stepping into the self-love, but you witnessed your own self choosing you in a beautiful way. And then giving yourself that condolence, like you said, I'm like, you're good. You did good job, instead of
Or
the,
even just acknowledging that I was uncomfortable.
yeah.
Like, I don't even have to say you did a good job or anything. Might not have, but it doesn't matter. That was just uncomfortable. If you
We
didn't
Go ahead.
if you didn't do a good job in an uncomfortable situation, it's okay.
Well, and it's one of those that it's a learning process for us forever and ever, I think. And we're always being faced with different challenges. And a lot of times, even if we have shifted aspects of ourselves, we may have that challenge show up one more time just to witness within ourselves of how much we have changed.
And then what about forgiving others?
With that forgiveness of others, it's kind of like you need to witness that everybody is in their own illusion. They're in their own chaos. They're in their own fear. They're in their own traumas, whatever it is. And it's not for you to give them permission for whatever it is. It's more of they are where they are and it is perfect. I can choose differently for myself in situations. I forgive you for the harm you've created, but then holding a boundary. So a lot of people think, oh, forgiveness, and then go straight back into the situation. And it's like, no, 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 no. Forgiveness, but create a boundary differently so that you are not being harmed anymore by whatever it is.
And if two people are trying to meet their own needs, it can not always be smooth. I mean, giving them back for for what they've done and giving it back to them and saying, like, how would I don't think I can wrap my head around that, but I kind of feel it like for giving. I'm I'm giving you back your power, and I'm taking back my power because some things are not resolvable.
I
I
love how you said that. That is perfect.
oh, nice. Yeah. So forgiving somebody can really be as simple as just acknowledging they were trying to get their needs met the best way they could. You were trying to get your needs met the best you could. And I think a lot of self-forgiveness might be going back in the past and saying, I forgive myself for not learning how to stand up for myself sooner. But that wasn't always safe. You know, we all grew up in homes and we were all children, and children needed to learn how to get along in a family. And if you didn't learn how to get along in a family, you weren't going to do very well anywhere else. So, unfortunately, forgiving our parents would even be like they were trying to teach us how to rein ourselves in, rein our feelings in. So, when we go out in society, we don't get beat up every day. And,
Yeah.
some had a better way of doing it and some were just, didn't. I don't know. Some kids are harder than others too.
Yeah, it's interesting because even in our childhood, some of us come from such messed up backgrounds, of trauma from our actual parents on extreme levels.
Hmm.
It's forgiveness even for them is important because even though it's not okay what they did per se, it's getting the burden off of you that you're not holding that anger, that grudge, that contentment, because that definitely weighs your energy down as well as not allowing you to expand into what you are and who you are. So I feel like forgiveness is important on all aspects of it. And, the belief that a lot of spiritual ideas out there of like, well, you had a contract for that. You chose that, all this different stuff of what happens in our childhood. And it's like, no, maybe some aspect you did, but majority of it you did not. Because humans have human choice, they chose differently than what the initially intention was of you coming into this world. There are some people, yes, that is their contract to become the powerhouse they are, but overall, I have found that it's very rare.
So, like saying, well, I chose to enter into a really violent situation. It was my karma, is kind of victimizing yourself.
Absolutely, and it's not truth. So it's learning to stand in your power again, just like you had said, of forgiving. I loved how you said that. I've never heard it that way, and I love it. Of I'm giving back your power. I'm not taking it, and I'm taking back my power. And honestly, that is the absolute separation of any situation. It doesn't matter how traumatic it is. It's literally taking your power back and giving their power back to them of I don't want this. I'm not carrying this anymore. I'm not going to feed this energy anymore. And I have done practices with people where it's like said the most horrific backgrounds you can imagine of as soon as you take your power back, that part of them heals very quickly.
Once you've taken your power back and you've forgiven and given them their power back, there's no reason to drag it around with you anymore. Like it frees them, it frees you.
Yep, absolutely 100%. And then forgiving yourself for condemning yourself or believing in this belief system of whatever they did to you.
Ooh, go more into that.
Well, a lot of it is like we will believe something is wrong with us or we deserved it or um, we just must be a bad person, whatever, It's more of just recognizing that nobody deserves foul treatment, bad treatment of any sort. But as human beings, we're not given a guidebook how to be humans. And everybody, like you said, is trying to, serve themselves the best they can to survive because ultimately it comes down to survival.
Mm. And then, so like, if you don't forgive somebody, Does that keep you from growing? Does that keep you from expanding?
I believe it does because it's the trauma that's still heavy on you, if that makes sense. When you can
Yeah.
release the trauma, then you have room to expand and to open up your heart more and to step into what you are more.
Yeah. What does it look like on the other side of forgiveness, do you think? Or do you probably know? What does it look like on the other side when you forgive somebody fully?
It's amazing because at least my experiences with doing it was just like a heavy weights just dropped off, like boom, 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 like big heavy sandbags. And it's like you're free. There's this energy that it's not that you forget what happened, but it's no longer in your forefront. You're no longer triggered by it. If someone else does something, you're not being triggered because that part of you has shifted and cleared the energy, so it's not still playing. And when you are able to forgive yourself, forgive that, it's almost like the past doesn't matter anymore. And that's where you can step into the present moment more and more of who you are. But like I said, the one thing that I see with humans that's pretty consistent is that, oh, I forgave them. Okay, so it must be good now. Okay. And then they go back to being re-traumatized by an individual. And there's different levels of forgiveness, just like anything, but that's where my advice to everybody is like, you can forgive, you will no longer have triggers, but there's an aspect of don't let yourself kind of forget. I mean, you want to let that trauma go, but don't forget that maybe this person's toxic. Don't just, oh, well, they're being nice again, or I gave forgiveness, so suck back in. Maybe that person has shifted and changed as well, which is possible. It just kind of determines on you and where you're at and where that person is, but to be aware of and not be fearful of, but be aware of and making sure you really set your boundaries very healthy for that relationship.
So forgiveness can actually help you see the other person more clearly
Yes,
instead of trying to get them to do what you want them to do. You forgive them for whatever the situation is that you're dealing with. And then you can see the situation more clearly because you're not in that controlling aspect. When you don't forgive somebody, it's almost like trying to control them.
I never thought of that way, but that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you would be able to see yourself more clearly too in the situation. So like just now, oh, if I'm not going to forgive you, I'm still trying to control you. I'm still trying to get an apology. I'm still trying to get you to see the truth. I'm still trying to get you to see it my way. If I just forgive you, like you're just not going to. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
Then I can see you for who you are, good, bad, or indifferent, and then I can see where my triggers are. Ooh, that was hard to forgive. Why? Kind of sit with it. Don't beat yourself up or berate. Well, I probably did this, that, or the other thing, and it was probably because no, just that's hard. That's hard. I wonder why it's hard for me to forgive them. Oh, and then if you're sitting with yourself and kind of having this journaling conversation, then you can find your triggers and maybe your self-forgiveness. And forgiving somebody else, when you look at it like just giving them their power back, really is so freeing.
absolutely. Because no longer are you under their control either,
Oh, right. Oh, yes, right? Yeah.
or manipulation, or whatever it is. And there's an energy feed that happens through traumas with people. And if we can cut that energy feed, then it no longer exists in this frequency that you're in.
So it just came to my mind, one of the biggest things that you could ever forgive is forgiving somebody else for trying to control you. What do you think?
Maybe it's one of them. Yeah, absolutely. And a strong one because there's a lot of people out there that they don't have control of themselves. So therefore they try to control others.
Right.
And then there's aspects that there are human beings out there that are very vampire energetically. And they know exactly what they're doing and trying to control or create trauma or whatever they're doing. But if you can do this forgiveness, even of those people, and take your power back and then put the boundary up, those people can no longer affect you anymore. And you won't even attract that frequency anymore of those type of people.
Some people do, like they read all the books on how to control and manipulate other people and get what they want and how to get what you want without doing a damn thing yourself, that type of thing, right? Try to get everybody else to do everything for you. Like there are just people that are like that. They take great pride in manipulating other people, and if you can forgive them for that, then they can't control you because forgiving lets you see them for who they really are, instead of you trying to control them back and not being any better than that.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Interesting. But then you have to forgive yourself. Then it goes back to the first point, which is forgiving yourself is the most important thing, because when you do that, you can stop beating yourself up and then see more clearly what's happening. It's the
Well, that
beating yourself up that's brutal.
absolutely. And the thing is then you're still giving them power. You're still giving them power because now they've imprinted or implanted this energy on you, a belief system about yourself.
And
And
you've agreed.
yeah, and you've agreed to it,
And
even
you've agreed
though
to
it's
it.
not your truth.
Which goes back, do you remember my journal entry that we talked about where I said that self-hatred is a form of enslavement?
Yes,
Yeah, that goes back into that again. When you don't love yourself, you can't forgive yourself, then you can't see clearly enough to forgive others. So they're all tied together.
absolutely. I think it's all tied together on every level. And a lot of our traumas we can heal simply by forgiveness.
Hmm. That's really nice. That leads me to want to bring up another subject that I had listened to on a podcast. A man named Keith Gillis was talking about a TV show that's on Apple TV, but I don't know which one it was. And the line in the show was, you say, I can't do something. I can't do this. It's too much. I can't. I don't know how. I don't want to do it alone. I can't. I'm not that strong. And then we expand and we do it. And I thought, how beautiful is that? And it made me think of like the Galactics that you channel. They're trying to help us expand and grow. So we're at a point like where we're like, I don't want to do it by myself. I can't do it. So it's like we've gotten some support from the spirit side, from the galactics, from angels, from your enlightened nature, from all of these things that are like, so we'll expand. Let's do this.
And it's scary when we're stepping into unknown territory. It's scary to forgive ourselves because we will feel pain. It's scary to expand in general, just mainly because we don't understand what's on the other side. And I love the saying that I had a client years ago tell me was like, it's easier to sit in your pile of shit because it's cozy, warm, and you're used to the smell than getting out of it. And it's the same idea, but once you get out of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I was just awful. And I was just comfortable enough, there. And I love that because that's the same idea you're talking about of I can't get out, blah, 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 excuse after excuse. But then when you choose to go, you know what, I'm going to expand and I'm going to allow myself something different, then you can. And then you can move forward. And I think personally that everybody should have community of some sort, community that can help witness you in your transformation as well as you're going to help them in their transformation. And that helps us get out of our shit and it allows us to feel more comfortable in that expansion of our new selves.
Yeah. What does expansion actually mean? We expand.
my opinion of what expansion means is just growing into what you actually are, growing into a heart-centered existence, becoming what we are energetically that we were told we were not, and really stepping into the power of who we are, of our authentic aspect. That's expansion, because so much of the world has taught us to be contracted, to be less than, to be small. And it doesn't serve us as a human. We're not meant to be that. We all have amazing abilities and gifts that we're here to be part of and to participate in with our wisdom of what our soul brings. And when we aren't expanded or being in our expansive self, we're actually harming the world by not sharing ourselves. And I feel like that expansion has a lot of different directions with it, but the main one is just learning to honor who you are. That's definitely one of the big steps of expansion, is just honoring you wherever you're at and knowing that you have the opportunity to change, because we are human. We have choice. Like I said in the beginning, we choose to be negative or positive, or see colors or dullness, or we choose to speak a certain way or not speak a certain way. There's so much that within a moment of each day, we can choose something different. Now, there's an aspect that still has to be healed, maybe in the unconscious, but just that beginning of that state of choosing something different for ourselves goes a long way.
Is there a way that people can work towards expansion of self? Is there like a meditation that they should do? Should they journal? Is there like a topic point that people can start with, like journaling on in that process of expansion? Or of even just seeing, maybe the first step is even seeing where you are.
And witnessing you where you are, I think it's
Witnessing
beautiful.
yourself would be one.
Yep, absolutely. Another piece is just pay attention to yourself. Am I condemning myself every day? Am I allowing others to condemn me and follow that belief system of what they placed on me? Is my actions following suit of what they told me I am because they told me that? Or is that truly me? And how do I want to look at myself in that way? So what I mean by that is, it's okay to have faults. It's normal. It's called a human being. There is no such thing as perfection. I've never met a perfect person. There is no such thing in this world. This is part of the human experience. But to witness yourself of like, yeah, that person was right, and I really don't like that part of me. But instead of condemning yourself for it, you're choosing to look into it. Okay, well, why do I do that? Why do I interact that way? And then finding out what is the core of my expression that's uncanny or unfavorable by other people, but not beating yourself up for it, but just going, wow, okay, let me explore this. And there's so many times that people will tell us negative things about ourselves that's actually isn't truth, that they're just projecting their own issues. So it's really important to take the time to go, hey, is this real or is this theirs? And forgiving them if it's theirs, putting your boundary differently. If it's yours, to go, okay, cool. Yeah, I do this. Great. I still love myself. I'm perfect in that aspect of who I am because this is all I know. But now that it's come to my forefront, I can choose differently and not condemning yourself, but just going, wow, what a blessing that I got this information so that I can change it now. But I think we could step into the Galactics giving us some insight on how to start changing that.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
All right, let's see what they have to say. Kona nai hisini tama ki nalawa shishintinawa nata yekuyetawa hata sisia. For centuries and centuries of mankind, there's always belief systems of what's etiquette is appropriate, or what character traits are best and what aren't. As society continues to evolve into each evolution of itself, those continue to change. Recognize that older generations This is what they were brought up by in belief systems. And the newer generations are brought up with other ideas and situations. But to not condemn each other, but witness that you each lived through something different, different perspectives, different society, different ideas, an idealistic outcome of what you want your life to be. For each individual, it's important just to forgive within and forgive without. And what we mean by that is forgiving those that have a different perception, a different idea, as each of you have your own illusion of creation and what is right or wrong. There is obviously the rules out there of what's wrong, harming each other intentionally, killing, things like that. But when it comes to just the normal of what humans are and do, everybody's ideas are different. And there's such an aspect of the human race that is in survival mode. And that survival will allow people to do things that they normally would not consciously want to do. Is this okay? It is what it is, but you have choice to not go that direction and choose something else. We understand that the world around you is extremely corrupt. There's a lot of things out there that really create more corruption because you witness human beings getting away with things that you think are horrific and profiting from it. Recognize that you have choice. You too can go that direction, but in the end, does it serve you? Does it allow you to make the world better? Does it allow you to live in a heart center of truth and peace? Does it allow you to create something in a different way versus the way that others have gone? In this instance, it is up to you, as this is human choice. But recognize that each of you will go through a day of reckoning, of seeing this lifeline, and being able to relive, correct, or transition. And there is an aspect of karmic that is truth, that you will go through a different evolution to witness what you created. This does not mean we want you to live in this karmic mindset, but to be in a peaceful state where the goal is of a human being is to live in the heart center in harmony with others. Harm does happen by accident, and it can be quite tragic at times. But in this instance, that tragedy, especially if not made maliciously, is a lesson that your souls have chosen together to help you evolve. We're not saying that this is okay necessarily. It just is what humans are, and we each have certain paths that we are to evolve from. And it's not always pretty. It's not fun. Witness that if you did not do it out of maliciousness, but you did it out of something out of your control or out of lack of knowledge, recognize that that piece of what has happened is for your soul evolution, and there is a contract. We ask that you step into who you are and the love that you are and bring the knowledge forward, because through the tragedy can bring light and help resolve other tragedies from happening that are unnecessary, or teaching others to see things in a new light, to witness who they are and the power that they are, that this still on some aspect is your creation, an illusion of your reality. Forgiveness is a tough one, as humans have emotions. And these emotions are important, because without them, then nothing matters. And everybody's just doing what they do. The emotions are there to help navigate us in a better way allowing our emotions to help us evolve and witness what's right or wrong in a healthy way. When it comes to self-forgiveness, it comes down to pure self-love. When it comes to forgiveness of others, it's recognizing that it's not what you think it is. There can be so much more behind the scenes that you have no idea. It is simply for you to witness, disconnect the energy, and continue to put yourself in the power of what you are and who you are. Forgiveness is something that's vitally important in the human race. And through that, you becomes love. And through that becomes harmony. As you choose to step into the light, others have the opportunity to choose too. Kia tanana sayetalo, kunia sana shishinia, kuna sahaya, tona pai. We ask that you honor yourself, forgive yourself, and through forgiveness of self, cut all energetic ties that you're harboring of anger, defeat, or anything else that is weighing you down. Allow the forgiveness for others, allow the forgiveness within, and step into the power of what you actually are. As you step into the power, your boundaries are stronger, and you become a light of love. Is there a thing of perfection? Absolutely not. You're still a human. But this perfection is much more closer in hand, and you can choose clearer your next steps. And this transmission is complete.
One part that they had said in there struck me. It was right at the end. Self-love makes it easier to forgive others because you're keeping your attention on yourself. They didn't say it that way, but I was like, oh, so because you don't understand what they're going through, so allowing them to go through what they're going through, so when you're like, wow, that was uncomfortable, like I had done, like, earlier I had said that's uncomfortable, that makes it way easier for me to forgive the other people because I don't know what their story is. I don't know why they did it, like why they're acting that way. There's probably something behind it, and I don't know that part. My job is the self-love. So that was pretty cool. That transmission went in a lot of different directions that I didn't think about.
I love when they bring the information through.
Yeah. Like, what did they say? It's hard because I'm like trying to write things and listen at the same time. Um, Human emotions are important. Without them, nothing else matters. So honoring your emotions, like during hard times, that's self-love.
Yeah, I have a hard time with some of the spiritual aspects of being numb and nothing exists and you don't feel anything. I'm like, well, then why are you here? That's the purpose of being a human, is expression, experience, witnessing, but learning to navigate it in a healthier way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, gosh, life is really dull if we have no feeling.
Yeah.
We know that from when we're in depression. We know
Yeah.
that.
I was just going to say, when you're in depression, all of
Yeah.
those go away. You stop feeling. You
Yeah.
pick your one feeling that you can survive on, and that's it. Whether it's fear or anger or whichever one you choose. So yeah, that was cool. Very nice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you think? Do you think we kind of hit the nail on the head with the forgiveness part?
Yeah, I think that was nice. I think
Well,
it gives me a lot of food for thought on how to handle those things, understand, oh, the emotion, feel the emotion, be human, allow them to be human.
But at the same time, like you didn't fall into the trap of the
Right,
whatever drama, because
right,
it's not necessary.
right. It's going to happen though.
Well, it's human
Sometimes you're going to take the
nature.
bait.
Yes, it's human nature, no matter how much we try. But it's learning to navigate it more and more in a way that's healthy versus harmful for others or ourselves.
It helps us to expand when we do that.
Yeah,
Then we can take on bigger challenges in life. If we can learn to forgive, we can learn to almost do anything, I think.
absolutely. And the thing is, it's trial and error being in this human body.
Mhm.
I said we weren't given a handbook.
Should.
It make life a lot easier, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like we're doing the best we know. And
Yeah.
each moment we change of learning more and more. And I don't think that ever changes ever in this existence. So,
Very good.
well, yay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. And we look forward to hearing your comments and what you feel was important about this podcast. And if you have any questions beyond that, please don't hesitate to put those in the comments as well. And please, we're asking for topics that you would like us to dive deeper into, because this is ultimately for you. So thank you again for joining us. We will see you on our next episode.
Bye.